Have you ever felt afraid to speak in front of people? I have. Every time I stand in front of a group, even a small one, my face turns red. My hands shake, and my mind goes blank. It feels like all the words I know disappear in a second. When I was a child, I was full of energy. I loved to run, jump, and dream about my future. But something was always missing. Confidence. I was so scared of speaking in public that I even avoided answering questions in class. One day, my teacher asked me to read a short sentence out loud. My heart was beating so fast, and my voice was shaking. When I finished, some students laughed at me. I wanted to cry. After that, I promised myself never to speak in public again. But life doesn't listen to our promises, does it? As I grew up, I realized something. If I wanted to follow my dreams and have a great job, I had to face my fear. I had to learn to speak confidently, especially in English. What happened next? Well, it changed my life forever. Let me tell you my story. When I was a teenager, I had a big dream. I wanted to work for an international company and travel to different countries. I imagined myself meeting new people, learning about their cultures, and sharing my ideas with confidence. But there was a problem. This dream needed something I didn't have. First, I had to learn English. Without it, I couldn't even start. English was like a bridge to the world I wanted, but it looked so far away. Second, I had to speak in front of people. Not just one or two people, but big groups, meetings, and even conferences. The thought of standing in front of a crowd made my heart race and my hands cold. Sometimes I felt like giving up. I thought, maybe this dream is too big for me. But every time I closed my eyes, I could see my future self, strong, happy, and confident. I wanted to be that person so much. One day, I made a decision. I told myself if I want this dream, I have to fight for it. I will learn English no matter how hard it is. And one day, I will speak without fear. But I didn't know where to start. I didn't even know how to believe in myself. That's when everything changed. After deciding to learn English, I searched everywhere for a good language school. One day, I found a small, old building at the end of a narrow street. This place looks too old and quiet, I thought. Can I really learn anything here? But I decided to try. As I walked inside, I saw books and posters all around, but what caught my attention was the teacher, a man in his 60s with bright, curious eyes and a warm smile. He looked like he had been teaching forever. There was something different about him, something I couldn't understand yet. "Welcome, Homa," he said, as if he knew me already. "Are you ready to find a new version of yourself?" I didn't understand what he meant at first. But from the very first lesson, I knew this was no ordinary teacher. He didn't just teach words and grammar, he taught confidence. One day, he asked me to stand up, walk around the room, and introduce myself as if I were a famous speaker. I laughed, feeling silly, but he said, "Homa, the world is your stage. Pretend you're already the confident person you want to be." It was strange, but I felt something change inside me. For those few minutes, I believed in myself. In another lesson, he played a recording of a powerful speaker. Close your eyes and repeat each word with the same energy, he told me. Imagine you are that person, speaking with the same strength. I followed his instructions, and for the first time, I didn't feel afraid of my own voice. One of his favorite techniques was what he called mirror talks. After each lesson, he made me go home and talk to myself in the mirror in English every single day. He said, "Look into your own eyes. You'll see the strength you didn't know you had." And strangely, it worked. I started feeling like there was another, braver version of me growing with each word I learned. Through these exercises, I didn't just learn English. I discovered a new side of myself, a side that felt confident, powerful, and ready to speak up. A few months after I started learning English, I got an exciting opportunity at work. I was chosen to help organize a large international conference. The event was held in a grand hall with tall ceilings, bright lights, and rows of chairs filled with important guests from different countries. Everyone was speaking English, and the speakers were there to share valuable ideas. My job was simple: manage the schedule, help the speakers, and make sure everything ran smoothly. I didn't need to speak in front of anyone, or at least that's what I thought. The event started well. The first speaker gave an inspiring talk, and the audience applauded loudly. But just before the second speaker was supposed to go on stage, I noticed something was wrong. He wasn't there. I looked around, but he was nowhere to be found. The hall became quiet, and everyone was waiting. My heart started to pound when I heard the financial director's voice behind me. "Homa, go up there and say something. Just keep them entertained for a few minutes." "What? Me?" I whispered back, frozen in place. "I can't do that." "You have to," he said firmly. "We can't leave the stage empty. Go." I felt as if the world stopped. My hands were cold, my legs were shaking, and my mind screamed, "Run away." But then I remembered my teacher's words, "The world is your stage. Pretend you are already the person you want to be." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. In my bag, I had a notebook where I wrote simple English sentences I practiced every day. I didn't know if they were enough, but I had no choice. I opened my eyes, walked toward the stage, and stepped behind the microphone. The bright lights were blinding, and hundreds of eyes were looking at me. My voice trembled as I started. "Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Our next speaker will be here shortly. In the meantime, let me tell you how exciting this event is for all of us." The words were simple, sentences I had practiced many times in front of my mirror. But somehow they worked. The audience nodded, some even smiled, and I started to feel less scared. After a minute, I said, "Thank you for your understanding," and stepped off the stage. My legs were weak, and I leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Did I really just do that? I couldn't believe it. But then, a strange feeling started to grow inside me, something warm and powerful. For the first time, I felt a spark of excitement. I looked back at the stage and the microphone. It no longer seemed like something to fear. Instead, it felt like it belonged to me. Maybe one day I'll be back up there, I thought. Just then, the missing speaker arrived and rushed to the stage. The moment was over, but it had changed me forever. A few weeks after the conference, I was invited to another event. This one was much smaller, just a group of colleagues and a few international guests. The manager asked me to say a few words of welcome. I felt nervous, but also excited. This is my chance to prove to myself that I can do it again, I thought. But this time, I didn't have my notebook with me. The sentences I had practiced so carefully weren't there to guide me. I stood up, smiled at the audience, and began to speak. At first, it went well, but then I forgot a word. I paused, trying to remember, and my face started to feel hot. I said the wrong word, corrected myself, and then lost my place again. My voice trembled as I finished, and the applause felt more like a kind gesture than real appreciation. As soon as the event ended, I rushed out of the room. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I kept hearing the mistakes I made over and over in my head. I can't do this, I thought. All my dreams are just illusions. I'll never be good enough. The next day, I went to my English class feeling hopeless. My teacher noticed right away that something was wrong. "What happened, Homa?" he asked kindly. I told him everything. How I had tried, how I had failed, and how I felt like giving up. He listened patiently, then smiled and said something I'll never forget. "Homa, do you know what the best players in any game have in common?" I shook my head. They make mistakes. A lot of mistakes. Because mistakes are part of the game. Without them, there's no growth, no excitement, and no victory. Every time you stumble, you learn something new. That's how you become stronger. I looked at him, unsure, but I felt so embarrassed. What if people think I'm not good enough? He laughed softly. Do you know what people admire the most? Someone who doesn't give up. Someone who stands up after falling. You spoke, Homa. That's already a victory. Next time, you'll be even better. His words gave me hope. That night, I sat down and thought about what he said. He was right. My mistakes didn't mean I had failed. They meant I was growing. To everyone listening to my story, I want to share this. Mistakes are not the end of your journey. They are the beginning of something great. Every time you fail, you are one step closer to success. Don't let fear stop you. Learn, grow, and keep moving forward. As my teacher always said, the path to success is never a straight line. It's full of twists, turns, and yes, even mistakes. But that's what makes it beautiful. Today, as I stand here speaking to all of you, I can hardly believe how far I've come. Once, I was the girl who froze at the thought of speaking in front of others, whose face turned red, and whose words got lost in fear. Now I'm here, sharing my story with so many of you who are listening, hoping to find your own strength. I've achieved a big part of my dream. I work in a role where my voice reaches many people, and I get to inspire others to grow and believe in themselves. But let me tell you something important. This didn't happen overnight. My success came because I didn't stop, even when I made mistakes. I learned that mistakes weren't the end of my journey. They were the fuel that kept me going. I practiced, I stumbled, and I stood up again. And each time, I grew stronger. Let me share with you 3 lessons that changed my life. Embrace your mistakes. Don't fear them. Every mistake you make is a lesson in disguise. The more you allow yourself to fail, the closer you'll be to success. Find your why. For me, my dream of building a career and communicating with confidence became my driving force. When you have a clear reason, even the hardest challenges feel possible to overcome. Trust the process. Growth takes time, and it's not always easy. There will be days when you feel like giving up, but those are the days that define you. Keep going no matter how small the steps. When I look back now, I'm grateful for every fear I faced, every tear I shed, and every mistake I made, because those moments taught me resilience. And now I want to ask you, what's your dream? What's that big goal that makes your heart race but feels impossible right now? Whatever it is, hold on to it. Fight for it. Work for it. You might fall, but when you stand up again, you'll be stronger than before. As I finish my story, I want to leave you with this thought. You are capable of more than you can imagine. Your fears don't define you. Your courage does. Believe in yourself, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. So, my dear friends, the stage is yours now. Take the first step. Speak your first word. And remember, every journey begins with a single brave moment.